All right, so today we're going to talk about something that you all need to be familiar with, but you don't have to be an expert at, okay? And that is the instructions to the closing attorney. What is the general terminology that everybody says? Instructions to the closing attorney is what's at the top of the form. What does everybody call it in real life? Commission agreement, right. All right, it's what outlines the commissions that are involved for both sides of the transaction. All right, so and why do I say that you need to be familiar with it, but you don't have to necessarily be an expert on it? Because we have a help desk. We have a staff that will do the vast majority of this for you. And 99 times out of 100, it's very simple, it's very easy, and it's going to be driven by what is in one, if you're working with the seller, it's going to be driven by what's in your listing agreement. And if you're working with a buyer, it's going to be driven by potentially two different things. Does anybody know what they are?
Listing agreement and buyer brokerage.
The buyer brokerage agreement, and what else? What's in the MLS, okay? So everybody understands and knows, or if you haven't figured this out yet, if you're literally just fell off the turnip truck, everybody looks at the listing agreement to see what the co-op commission is, okay? Well, I don't know what the stats are these days. Probably 90% of the time it's going to be 3%, okay? Because Atlanta is one of those markets that has done pretty well in keeping commissions steady at 3% for the buyer side. Could be less, all right? And we're going to show you some examples of that. You know what? Let me... There it is. Okay, bear with me, folks. We're going to do this. So this is the instructions to the closing attorney. It is a fairly simple 2-page document. Wow, that's hard to see. Are you guys having a hard time with that as much as I am?
Yeah.
Okay. So details at the top, who the buyer and the sellers are, the date of the agreement, the address of the property, and 99 times out of 100, all you're going to see is the commissions paid by the seller, and then the commission, what is being shared with the buyer's broker out of that 6%, okay? So depending upon which side of the transaction you're on, you want to make sure that those numbers jive, okay? And they should be exactly what you see here, 6%, and then spelled out SIX or 3THREE, okay? I can't remember if Remind does that for you automatically or if you have to type it. Does anybody know? You have to type it? Okay. All right. And notice this is structured, this is a one-size-fits-all form. 9 times out of 10, all you're going to need is the commissions paid for by the seller, okay? Because how often do buyers pay commissions in this marketplace? Probably not very often, okay? But if there was, you would also have paragraph 2 to be able to do that right there. Paragraph 3 is some legal language, which I'm not going to cover in any great detail. And why do I not have page 2?
It says it's there.
It's a different tab, I think.
I've got multiple tabs.
Can you scroll down?
Oh, that's what I'm looking for. There it is. Okay, so page 2, further directions to the closing attorney, any fees, rebates, service fees. I worked for a brokerage at one point that charged a $495 transaction fee for every single transaction. That was always somewhere in here. And for the buyer's broker side also. And then there's an area down here for special stipulations. Okay, again, 99 times out of 100, you're only going to really need to concern yourself with what's up on what's right there in paragraph 1, okay? So let's look at some other examples. Okay, so here is one, and I don't necessarily recommend this because again, you don't necessarily always have the authority to do this. This particular one was a discounted commission for some reason or the other. This was a friends and family discount, or this was, trying to remember the circumstances. Oh, this was actually one that I did recently, and it was a buy sell. So I charged them full commission on the buy side, and gave them a break on the sell side with approval of my my broker. Okay. Now let's go to an extreme example. Here's a good one. Okay, so again, 99 times out of 100, you're not going to need to worry about this. All right, but before I go there, let me pull up one other thing. If I can find my cursor. All right, this happens to be an MLS listing. This is an extreme circumstances, so again, don't take this as permission to do this. I actually have been working with a buyer for almost 2 years, done several properties with them. They wanted to buy a property in Valdosta. Am I a subject matter expert in Valdosta? Nope. Have I been to Valdosta? Driven through. That's about it. Okay. They wanted to work with me. They found the house. I set some things up, handled the contract work, did the inspections. This is the property, but I didn't even have MLS access, so I had to get this from their MLS. Now, Valdosta is a different world. There's my cursor. Let's go down here. Look at the co-op commission. Does anybody recognize what this is and what it might be?
Variable rate.
It's a variable rate commission. Okay, so in this particular case, you almost never see this in the Atlanta marketplace, but again, Valdosta is a different animal. What it is on the first $100,000 of the sales price, the commission is 2.7%. On the second $100,000 of the sales price, it is 1.8%. On the third, on the remainder of the sales price, it's 0.9%. Okay? So, with those instructions, now, let's go back up. If I can remember which one it was. There we go. All right, so variable rate commission, the seller's broker agrees to share this commission with the buyer's broker. So I literally just sent this out yesterday. So it happens, I did the math, $6,525, 2.7 on the first 100, 1.8 on the second, and 0.9% on the remainder. So that is the total amount. Okay, guess what? I'm not the kind of guy, I know what my value and my worth is, all right? I had a buyer's brokerage agreement for 3% of the sales price of the house. The math, if you work this out, ends up being 1.54% of the sales price of the house. What's my buyer responsible for?
1.46.
Whatever the difference is, because I know what my value is, and they've signed a buyer's brokerage agreement. They know what my value is. Okay, so they have a buyer's brokerage agreement at 3%. Under these circumstances, I went ahead, cut them a little bit of a deal, and did it at 5.5, or at 2.5 instead of 3. Okay, so again, working with them to a certain extent. So that's when you see commissions paid for by the buyer. The difference between paragraph 1B there and 2.5 of the sales price paid to the buyer's broker. Okay, so this is a document, as the name implies, instructions to the closing attorney. The closing attorney is going to get this, and they're going to put that amount on the seller side of the CD, and they're going to put that amount on the buyer side of the CD, and that's going to be part of the fee that the buyers are going to have to pay whenever they have to come to the closing table. It's going to be an additional $4,100 for that. Okay? Sometimes seeing the simplest example and probably one of the most complex examples I've ever done. Helps you kind of get a picture of how these pieces fit together.
If they're just doing a flat fee, do they just put down there in the bottom, $5,000 and that's it?
Yeah, so notice you've got multiple lines. You've got right there percentage of the sales price of the house. You've got a dollar value right there. So that's why you don't see anything in that top line there, but you see the dollar value, and it did spell it out. I think Remind did that because I don't think I typed that. And then I did the explanation on the line below, just so it's all clear and everybody's good. Okay. Now I still have to send this to the seller side. I'm on the buyer side. I've asked for this from the seller. They haven't given it to me yet. So guess what? I'm advancing the transaction forward by at least covering my part of it, and I'll send it to them and I'll let them fill in their part and send it back once they've signed it. Make sense?
So this gets signed by both parties, by the buyers and by the sellers?
Great question, and I should have covered that. Notice whose signatures are on here.
The agents.
Only the agents representing the two brokerages. This is not a document that the buyers and sellers see or know anything about.
Where does it come first? From the buyer's side or from the seller's side? Wouldn't it normally come from the seller's side to start with?
Normally it does, and when you turn your contract into the help desk, one of the things that is on our contract to close checklist is requesting this from the seller side. Theoretically, they should initiate it. If you're not getting it in a timely fashion and you know it's been asked for and you personally asked for it, that's when I'm taking the reins of the transaction and I'm going to send it to them and say, hey, hadn't seen yours yet, here's ours. So I'm at least covering my side of the bases, and especially because it's such a unique scenario, I wanted to make sure that we had it right. So, of course,
Thanks for confusing us.
yeah, well, I'm good for that, right? All right. What other questions do you have? Anything? All right, let's go out there and have a great day.